Oh, I have a selfie. That's what our teacher told us to do, is to take a selfie.
Well, you need to take the numbers that they'll be happy to do that.
You know what? Eventually I'll get it. I call this regular meeting of May 26, 2022 to order. Jeannie, will you lead us in the flag salute?
Please rise. Join me in the flag salute.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Ban, could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Bruins,
Present.
Councilmember Daniels, Councilmember Miller,
Present.
Vice Mayor Schaefer,
Here.
and Mayor Middleton.
Here.
Tonight's meeting of the Citrus Heights City Council is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T U-verse cable systems. This meeting is closed captioned and live streamed at citrusheights.net. Tonight's meeting replays on Monday, May 30th at 9 a.m. on Channel 14. And this meeting can also be viewed on the city's YouTube channel.
Next item, please.
Next item is approval of agenda.
Move approval.
Motion by Schaefer, second by Ms. Bruins. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do that tonight.
Yeah, we can actually say the words out loud. Yeah.
Yes.
Next item.
Next item is comments by council members and regional board updates.
Ms. Bruins, we've missed you. Could you lead us
I'm
on?
back. It's nice to be back. So I'm sure we'll probably each have something to say about this, but I'm glad I'm able to lead with it. I just like to commend the staff and the city for putting on a great Public Works showcase a week ago today, actually. And I got there later in the day during the second half of it, but it was great. I got to visit everybody. Regional or SASD had an exhibit where you could literally look down the camera guide a camera through a pipe. So they got all excited because I would do that with them. And it was a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to having that again next year and during our Public Works Month. And so thank you to all. Yesterday, we had a regional SAN meeting and a SASD meeting. And two major things were discussed. It was a very lengthy meeting because there's a lot of dialogue among the board, a lot of public comment. But the first item was actually not what brought that out, but it was a report on future staffing options and the potential merger of Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District and the Sacramento Area Sewer District. So many of you may not know that it's actually two districts in one meeting. There's what I call the big pipes and the little pipes. And so they have separate staff. They do some crossover, but their employees are actually Sacramento County employees. They go through their payroll system and all of that. So this would be a major change. And so I actually served on a subcommittee about a year or so ago, looking at this issue, to studying best practices and efficiencies. And so we made a recommendation to the board to actively look into the viability of combining the two districts into one. They're both headed by the same district engineer, and so there'll be some more reporting on that in the future. But the big topic was giving staff direction on a biogeneration facility project. We're taking proposals now. This has to do with converting waste into usable product. And so the recommendation from staff going in was to use combustion type power. And so there was a couple of companies that are in the fuel cell industry that wanted to be included in the bid. So there's a lot of back and forth about that. And so ultimately the board did approve moving forward to include other types of energy besides combustion engine. So but that took a good hour and a half of discussion. People have very pointed positions on that. They're very polarized. So, but it did pass. And that was all I have to report for you tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Daniels.
Thank you very much. Had air board meeting this morning, went real well. Main things out of that would be, we did approve a budget for next year of approximately $75 million. So we are spending money. We're spending money to clean your air. But something that you might hear come out soon is that I think they said we're gonna drop down from, if I remember the terminology right, from a serious non-attainment area to a severe non-attainment area. And I just want the public to understand that, and clarify this during the meeting, that it doesn't mean that our air is getting worse. What is happening is that the standards keep changing. So as we keep getting closer to the goal line, they keep changing things. And so I'm not commenting on the good or bad of that. I'm just trying to make people understand too that if you hear that, like what's going on, why, we're spending tons of money. It is that mainly that the goalpost keeps getting changed, getting moved or whatever. And so that's that. And I want to obviously join everybody in saying our hearts and prayers go out to the people of Uvalde in Texas. Evil presented itself once again in America, and this time it was at the worst area. I spent a little bit of time driving around to some of the schools in the area, and I was kind of pleased actually. The schools are in a pretty good position with what is there and what we can do, and that's providing layers of protection. They're pretty hardened, but I think things could be better. I think that, I hate that in America that we're reactive. We wait for something to happen and then we go like, oh, well, maybe we should do this. But something has happened, and we do not control the school district. That's very clear. But our kids go to school here, and our parents don't care if we're not in charge of the school district. What they care about are their kids safe. And my daughter will enter kindergarten this August, and I have skin in the game, as they say. And so a little bit later, when we come back to future items, possibly I'm going to hope to get some support for us putting together maybe a committee or something like that examines this and looking at what more can we do. Again, it's the school district's responsibility ultimately, but can we partner with them? Can we do some things? What can we do in Citrus Heights to hopefully, make things tougher for somebody to come and harm our children. Let's not wait for it to come to our town. Let's see if we can do something. And again, I'm very pleased to see things like fences around the areas and stuff like that. But when I look at them and they're 6 feet tall and smooth on top, it doesn't take much for somebody to get over that. So things like that, maybe we can look at. And then I'd like us, again, well, I'll come back later and see if we can get some support to do that. But just again, what can we do to make it safer for the kids in Citrus Heights to go to school? That's it.
Mr. Daniels, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to give a ditto to Councilmember Bruin's comments about the Public Works Showcase last Thursday. I just wanted to say that our staff and our community partners did a great job showing off what we do and what the equipment we use does to keep our city functioning. This Monday's Sacramento Regional Transit meeting was canceled this past Monday for lack of business. And I love that, not having a meeting for meeting's sake. Next one will be June 13th. I dropped in via Zoom for the Connect Citrus Heights meeting yesterday evening. And one of the action items the group decided on was to participate in Sunday Fun Day and have a Connect Citrus Heights presence there. And I'm really looking forward to bringing back Sunday Fun Day, and I'm sure we'll hear more about it from staff. And it's going to be in a big way as we celebrate our 25th birthday as a city. And Monday is Memorial Day, and there will be services held at the Sylvan Cemetery, and that's at 11 a.m. Might want to get there a little earlier than that. Parking can be difficult at times, and that's put on by the American Legion, and they do a great job, and they do a very nice and respectful memorial program at the cemetery. And they have singing and speakers, and I enjoy that every year. Then at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the Capitol Pops will be playing for about an hour at the Veterans Community Center right down the road on Sylvan Road. And with that, Mayor, back to you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Schaefer.
Thank you, Mayor. So today we had a library board meeting where we accepted a $57 million budget for the library. It was very interesting. It's really the first time that we really took a deep dive during the meeting on all of the issues with the budget. I think we're in okay shape. That we had, where this year, next year, we're going to run into a slight deficit, but we have the reserves to overcome that. So, I was happy to work with my board members and pass that budget. I do want to comment about the showplace that we had last Thursday. I wasn't able to attend as I was out of town, but my colleagues all sent me a text saying it was really, really well done. So I'm so super proud of my city for doing such a great job with that. Thank you very much. And I just wanted to, one of the things that I want to touch on the shooting that happened in Texas, and that is, it's a horribly tragic situation. And I listen to talk radio all day, and I hear people really jumping to conclusions. We really don't know much about how this happened. One thing that's clear, though, I will see these over and over and over again. We clearly have a mental health problem in this country. It's not about the gun. It's really about, I think, the general state of affairs when we talk about mental health, and people have to go to extremes just to get help. So I hope that that if we're going to be looking at legislation, that's part of the consideration. So, and thank you, Councilmember Miller, for mentioning the Memorial Day. I think I'll be out there. I think most of us will be out there. It really is a great service for those who have fallen in the fight for our country. So, with that, that's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. Okay, so official stuff first. On May 10th, the City Council held its biannual strategic planning retreat. During the retreat, the City Council and executive staff convened to determine the major policy initiatives for the city. The group assessed the organization's current strengths and weaknesses, evaluate external opportunities and threats that could impact the city, and developed a new 6-month strategic objectives to address the city's 3-year goals. We'll have a presentation on that later in the agenda, and the entire record is available at citrusheights.net. And let's see, I went to the Public Works Showcase. That was awesome. Operating all the tools and stuff, talking to folks. The city manager and I had a really great time, just, learning more, and we're definitely thinking about doing this again next year. It was awesome. I also went to the Citrus Heights Police Department Public Safety event, which was a lot of fun. If you did not show up, you missed me doing Sammy Circuit, working out in the park in heat. Won't ever happen again, folks. And with that, next item.
The next item is public comment, and members of the public may address the council on any agenda item of interest to the public and within the council's purview, or on any agenda item before or during the council's consideration of the item. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each. If you wish to address the council during the meeting, please either complete a speaker identification sheet and give it to myself. If participating via Zoom, use the raise hand function or *9 from a telephone to indicate your desire to speak. When your name is called, I will allow you to unmute your microphone to speak. And Mayor, I have not received any speaker cards from the audience tonight, and I do not see any raised hands on Zoom.
Next item, please.
Next item is consent calendar items 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Move approval?
Second.
Motion by Miller, second by Daniels. All those in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Next item, please.
Next item is the regular calendar, item number 9. The subject is adoption of focus area strategic planning objectives. The recommendation is to adopt a resolution adopting the focus area strategic objectives for the remainder of the current 3-year strategic plan goals term through March 2024.
Evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council, Ashley Finney, your city manager, that'll be presenting this item on behalf of our team. As the mayor spoke to on May 10th, there was a strategic planning retreat that the council and staff and members of the public attended, where the council revisited their 3-year goals and also talked about the strategic planning objectives for the next goal setting period, which is a 6-month increment. I thought it was a terrific retreat. I want to commend the council for the good work that you did at that retreat. I felt like everybody that was part of that participated in a very meaningful way, and feel like the 6-month objectives that were adopted were meaningful, and they're definitely SMART goals, and we have dates and a lot of exciting things to work on that really advance a number of the things that are on the community's mind and the council's mind as we move forward in our work. This item here, as Ms. Van was speaking to, is aligned with that, but this goes a little bit beyond that 6-month goal period. So these are focus area strategic objectives, and what they are intended to do is really clarify the mission, if you will, of what we're going to be working on and for the balance of the 3-year goal period that the council's established, and that runs through March 2024. So by having the council adopt by way of resolution the more extended version, if you will, of these strategic objectives associated with these focus areas, we think that'll be helpful to really allow us to kind of build on some of these 6-month increments that we're working on. And as we kind of come back and have additional strategic planning retreats, we would revisit this work plan and pull additional items out of that to talk about at the next 6-month retreat session to help us kind of prioritize and revisit what's working, what we might want to talk a little bit more about, maybe change course on certain items, but it presents an overall work plan, a comprehensive plan for us to work through. If I could go to the next slide, please. And where this came from is as we prepared for the strategic planning retreat, our staff team put together a background memo, and that was provided as part of that May 10th packet. But coming out of that retreat, one of the action items in the 6-month objectives was actually to come back before the council, as we're doing tonight, to have you consider adopting the focus area strategic objectives through March 2024. And where did we come up with this? When we go to the next slide, please. So a couple of data points here. This was based upon survey work that the team had done as part of the ARPA consideration of where some of the needs in the community are. So you can see here on these charts that homelessness, blight, those are some major areas of concern, infrastructure, economic development, community events. Community events, I'd say, has changed a bit from this data set compared to what we're hearing from the community now, because I'd say this data set was taken when things were really still under lockdown and people were very concerned about the pandemic. If we can go to the next slide, please. This represents, I believe there's 84 different organizations that received a letter when I started as city manager, offering an opportunity to meet, have dialogue. And many of these organizations took me up on that. It's been a busy period of time, been out in the community, learning from others, what's important to them, for the city. And also city council, we've spent a lot of time individually talking about what's important to you, what's important to your constituents. Our staff team also has their finger on the pulse. That's okay, we can go to the next slide. Has their finger on the pulse relative to what they're hearing from the community. So a lot of discussion and dialogue really culminated into these 4 key focus areas. Community image. People are concerned about their community. They love their community. They'd like to see it look better. There's a lot of challenges associated with people that are experiencing homelessness, and some of the items that come along with that, a lot of the shopping carts and the debris then in some of the camps that create a lot of debris piles. So there's concern. We've been hearing a lot about that. Also, some of the commercial property blight people are concerned about. Economic development. People want to understand what's going on with Sunrise Mall. How do we advance the council's plan for Sunrise Tomorrow and other economic development activities in the city? People have been not together for a couple of years. Community connection. People want to get back together as a community, get back together as a neighborhood and experience one another again. And then infrastructure. Everybody would love to see more roadways paved and generally have better infrastructure across the city, make sure that we maintain what we have and modernize it as well. If I can go to the next slide, please. So with those 4 key items in mind and a lot of the idea flow that came out of those meetings, our staff team met, and you can see the individual departments that are represented here, spent a lot of time on this. And I really want to acknowledge the staff team that did an incredible amount of work. Coming in as a new member of the team, you didn't know what kind of support you're going to get when you say, hey, let's work on this strategic planning document. Boy, they really knocked it out of the park. Second to none on their enthusiasm and level of effort and support they had on this assignment. So I just really appreciate their work. And I think a lot of great ideas came out of these discussions. We had some purposeful meetings and really talked through, and a lot of great idea flow came out of these discussions. We can go to the next slide. One of the things that we're experiencing right now, we have a terrific opportunity with the ARPA dollars, and that next item after this item, we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But the American Rescue Plan Act provides an opportunity to fund some one-time investments that could really pay dividends in the future. And so that's something that as we kind of worked through this work plan, we kept that in mind to not make commitments that are necessarily ongoing costs for the city, but some of the things we can invest in now to get some meaningful immediate results and really kind of turn the tide on some things that we're having some challenges with. Again, these aren't finite 6-month objectives. It's more of a strategy that's represented in this document. And they're intended to really kind of be following that ARPA implementation period. If we can go to the next slide, please. Community image. One of the things that we want to do is want to report back on what's working and what's not relative to our partners that help us deal with people that are experiencing homelessness or people that are right on the edge, how we can keep them from not going into a homeless situation. So we're looking to have some quarterly reporting on that. Jurisdictional relationships. Nobody, I shouldn't say nobody. Residents, I don't believe understand oftentimes if you're driving through your city and you say, wow, that looks terrible over there. They probably don't want to know, oh, well, that's Caltrans right away. Or, oh, that's in the county. Or, you know, that's part of the Parks District. At the end of the day, it's an expectation that that should be addressed. And so irrespective of whose responsibility it is, I think that it's something that our staff team wants to work with our jurisdictional partners to see what we can do to come up with some memorandum of agreements to deal with some of those jurisdictional challenges where those exist, to allow us to have some enforcement capabilities in those areas. And also, hopefully by way of agreement where there's some funding participation to do some cleanup in those areas. But we just definitely want to work on some of the existing agreements we have to broaden those to allow us to do some enforcement and cleanup in some of those other jurisdictional areas. We can go to the next slide, please. Blighted commercial properties and trespass issues. We've got a number of objectives here that get at some of the challenges we have with that. The trespassing that happens on commercial properties, we're looking to get standing trespass orders that would allow us to do enforcement where that exists without having to go back and get permission from property owners or having someone say that they have permission to be there, and then we have to check that out and it slows things down. So that would be an example of something that we think we could do to get some efficiencies with some of our property owners. We want to talk to them about crime prevention through environmental design and talk about how they could harden their properties against vandalism or trespass issues. And then while we have property owners that are victims of vandalism or theft or what have you, we also have some property owners that maybe are pretty slow to address problems with their property. And so we're expecting them to be good residents of the city, good neighbors. And so we're going to work to be a little bit more proactive with some of those properties that continue to have challenges that are ongoing. Next slide, please. On blight and illegal camps on public property, really excited about this beautification crew that our team has been working towards. We're looking at having a crew, let's say a 2-person crew that would be funded through that period, the ARPA period, 3.5-year period, that would be dedicated to beautifying the city and also clean up a lot of the trash that we're seeing across the city as well. I mean, there's just too much trash in a beautiful city right now, and we're looking to have this beautification crew really kind of double down on those efforts to clean things up. And they'd also be able to refresh a lot of the infrastructure that's around here as well. One of the things that the beautification crew would do for our staff team is police, when an officer's going out and dealing with an enforcement situation, if they're saying, okay, well, we would appreciate if you need to take care of this debris, or they'll have to tag it. And we just don't have the resources currently, would go by once a week to do cleanup. This beautification crew ideally could be there in some cases in 10 minutes or an hour if they're nearby, but at least that day. So excited to see what we can do here. Can we move to the next slide? From a legal standpoint, there's a number of legal tools that our team, city attorney, Ryan Jones, as well as our police chief and many others have been talking about. What can we do to deal with our chronic nuisance offenders? If somebody continues to demonstrate the same behavior, is there something we can do from a legal standpoint to compel them to either change the behavior or have it addressed through the courts? So we're exploring chronic nuisance offender programs that could come with a community prosecutor, or looking to dedicate maybe some additional resources from our city attorney's office to pursue some of our chronic offender cases. Where we have some of our unhoused residents, or maybe they are housed, but if they're a continued mental health or drug addiction issue and they've really kind of lost the ability to make decisions for themselves and they're not seeking the treatment that they need, we want to look to see what we can do to compel them to get the help. There's exploration of potential conservatorship for people that are really at a point to where they're not able to, to provide for themselves and really kind of putting themselves in danger. Working with the county's standing up a program called Laura's Law right now that is looking to get court-appointed treatment for people that need it. So we're wanting to engage with them to learn more about that and see how we can engage in that where appropriate. And then where we have certain public spaces that are problematic, if they're in a business district and a business is interested in running activities there, would look to potentially have some license agreements with them. So we think there's a number of different legal tools that we could explore here and bring these back to the council and talk more about them that could help advance some of these community image issues as well. Community pride and cleanliness. I love shopping carts when I'm at the store. I love to gather my things and I like to put them back in their shopping cart corral. What I don't love is it seems like they've become the latest nuisance on every block. There's a shopping cart somewhere and it's not in its parking lot. It's not in its corral. It's in the wrong place. And it's creating a lot of visual blight. So we'd love to come back to the city council at a future meeting and talk about a shopping cart ordinance. We're looking at solutions across the board here. We're looking for everybody to participate in those solutions. And we want to talk to our business owners to see what we can do to do something about shopping carts. One of the things, authentic signage and marketing, Smokey the Bear, give a hoot, don't pollute. Those things are ingrained into many of us that remember those, or those marketing campaigns were maybe part of our upbringing. We're not seeing a lot of that these days. What can we do here in Citrus Heights to instill a community pride program to try to remind people that, put trash in the right receptacle, or if you see something, try to pick it up. Let's have some pride here, and that could help go in our shopping centers or on the streets or what have you. But we want to work on a marketing campaign, and hopefully that will certainly help change some behaviors as well, or at least get them thinking in that direction. And again, we'll have a comprehensive engagement strategy on all of this. From an economic development perspective, as I spoke to Sunrise Mall, very excited about the Sunrise Tomorrow plan. Council did a fantastic job of taking away the political risk associated with land use for that site, which is a heavy lift. But to really advance the discussions on getting a spade in the ground out there, need to start looking at what we can do to bring down the risk from a development risk and a financing risk standpoint. So wanting to talk to the owners out there, explore different public financing tools that are out there to help facilitate development when it's a heavy lift on infrastructure like this one is. And so that's one of the things that we'll be talking to the council more about, are some of the programs and what we can do as a city to help expedite making things happen out there, or really kind of paving the way to make infrastructure happen out at Sunrise Mall. Another thing is by making some of that, like the Loop Road, for instance, would be a good example of public infrastructure. We've got this once in a generation grant opportunity here. It'd be sure nice to have some of that money flow into that site to help advance, our economic engine as a city. Business attraction and retention, the businesses that the city would like to see. Are there some programs that we can stand up to help facilitate getting businesses in here that you as council members are hearing about from your constituents that maybe aren't here, that help with community vibrancy? Something we want to explore with you. And then the, care and feeding of our existing businesses. Interest is going up. Rates are going up. If somebody's looking to expand their business or, make some investment, if we can explore some sort of program to have low interest loans, of course, looking at credit worthiness and things of that nature to ensure that the, program continues to be self-funding in the future. Maybe that's something we can do to help our existing businesses, something we want to talk about. Next slide, please. SEPTED, we talked about SEPTED inspections and advice earlier in this presentation, but maybe there's a SEPTED matching grant program that we can talk about where we can help encourage people and have some matching dollars to make some of those improvements that help with crime prevention. Mural and arts at Sunrise Marketplace, I saw some great pictures of some of the murals that they're doing there. Explore expanding arts in the community and some of the murals that someone might think twice before graffitiing because they like the art that's there. A comprehensive grant strategy and legislative and government affairs, these go hand in hand. Our team has done a fantastic job pursuing grants, and the city has a good history of pursuing grants and been awarded many grants. But we want to really come up with a strategy that looks at all the needs citywide and helps us prioritize on the grants that we pursue. and be as competitive as we can to make sure that we're getting our share and then some out of the dollars that are going to be available at the federal and state level. To the next slide. In the time that I've been here, I know this council and the community like to have fun. And so events, we're really looking to get events going. Very excited about the Sunday Fun Day event that's going to be coming this fall, but we're also looking to, plan an additional event and see what we can do to have some community recovery, and ARPA could help with that. So we're wanting to talk more about events and do more events. We've got the connectivity piece of it, community engagement, a lot of discussion with neighborhood associations, Connect Citrus Heights, seeing what we can do to pull people back together. So we've got some ideas here on how we could go about that. Councilmember Miller spoke to Connect Citrus Heights having a good showing out at Sunday Fun Day, and we're looking for ways to facilitate connectivity amongst neighborhoods to build that social capital that's so important in a community. We can go to the next slide, please. One part of that that's very exciting is the idea of having a community block party trailer. We're getting back to the basics, getting people together, having fun, and really bringing people to where they are. It's challenging for a lot of folks to come down to a community room and meet if they're trying to cook dinner or get something dealt with at home. But if there's an event right around the corner from them, they're more likely to walk down and check it out. So got some exciting proposals here that we're going to talk about later on the block party trailer. But this is just in general, trying to continue with that community pride that is very important within Citrus Heights and was really part of its foundation. Also some opportunities to have some programs where neighborhoods and community groups could work on a project. So see how we could help foster that. Go to the next slide, please. Infrastructure. Want to continue efforts that are underway, but also on the maintenance and modernization. We'll be talking on June 26th at the budget meeting about some strategies on how we could have some additional dollars available for grant matching funds that can help with infrastructure, and some things that we'd like to do in the coming years to really start focusing in on some maintenance and modernization efforts, which are definitely needed within the city. Some ideas here are listed. And go to the next slide, please. Beautification and refurbishment. There's a lot of beautiful landscaping throughout the city, and some of it needs a refresh. Some of these areas probably haven't been barked for 10 years. So looking to see what we can do to refresh some of our beautiful areas and make sure that we don't lose them entirely. On the comprehensive grant strategy that I spoke to earlier, infrastructure, like you say, there's going to be a lot of money coming out of the federal government on infrastructure. We want to make sure that we're well suited to pursue that money. Very important on the implementation and exploration of these 48 different strategic objectives that are part of these focus items is communication and reporting. This is an example of kind of a dashboard that is a community reporting tool. Working with our communications team, we would be looking to report out to the community so people can see where we're at. Residents and businesses can see where we're at on any of these objectives and how that money's being spent and how effective it is. So with that, recommendation is that the council adopt a resolution that would memorialize and, like I say, clarify the mission over this balance of this 3-year goal period that ends in March 2024. So that concludes my presentation, and we have that respectful request of adopting that resolution. Happy to answer any questions.
Comments or questions from the council? And Brett? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jeannie.
Kind of you. Just a couple comments. We've seen this before, as I'm sure you can imagine. And I've served under with three different, all three of our city managers. And I just want to publicly commend our current city manager, Mr. Feeney, for the preparation for this retreat. It's his first one with us, within his first 100 days of being our city manager, he put all this together. He's done phenomenal work getting out into the community and just listening to what the needs are, and his preparation really served us well during the retreat as well. I think we took it to a different level than we've ever done before. And this report back to the public is also far more comprehensive than I've seen before. And I just want to commend you for that. Thank you very much. One of the things I particularly liked as well, it was spoken to, but it wasn't actually named. And that was our city manager's recognition that the people that live in Citrus Heights, whether they are housed in a building or in a portable situation out in the open, they choose to live here, and by definition, then they are citizens of Citrus Heights. And so all the people that live in Citrus Heights are entitled to the same rights and privileges as the next person. And at the same time, all of us who live in Citrus Heights are expected to abide by the laws of Citrus Heights. And so, I don't know how much of a shift that is in what we've been doing in the past, but for me, it just brought it into a different perspective. So we all, as citizens of Citrus Heights, have the rights and responsibilities that come with citizenship in this wonderful city. I also just noticed, and this probably is kudos to Megan Huber for adding 25 years to our logo, but that looks very nice. And this is our 25-year anniversary. And so I'm really glad that we are promoting it on our printed material. So I absolutely support a resolution to focus and move forward our agenda. I think some of the creative ideas that have come out of this are going to be really well received by the public once they're known. And so thank you very much for reporting out tonight. It was, it's just great to see it all put together and summarized and encapsulated. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Same kind of thoughts. I think tonight is the night that I am the most excited that I've ever been at any council meeting in 11 plus years on the city council. Tonight, Citrus Heights is taking a turn. And I wish to God every person that lives in Citrus Heights and has a business in Citrus Heights could see this meeting tonight and understand what we're about to do. It won't be fixed overnight. We may need a weekend, but Citrus Heights is about to make a dramatic change. And we want you to know that the things that are wrong or the things that are going to get better aren't things that we have purposely ignored or anything like that, but we just have a different path now and a different set of priorities maybe. And it's going to be so much nicer. I can't tell you how excited I am to have this gentleman sitting over here as our city manager and leading that path. We are blessed beyond blessed. And so understand it's going to be a different city. We're going to get into the weeds a little bit later on the next item. So I'm going to wait on some of the comments on that, but it's a very exciting time and you're going to see a different Citrus Heights. Thank you.
No, thank you. You mentioned how helpful staff was in putting this all together. And our staff has a great awareness of our strengths and weaknesses. But I'm sure we also have our institutional blind spots. And that's what I think a fresh set of eyes in our new city manager is able to kind of put this all back together. We knew our warts and foibles and where things worked, but to put this all together, I agree with Councilmember Daniels, it's just phenomenal. And there's one thing I would like to ask the council to consider adding to the focus area number 4, maintenance and modernization of our infrastructure. And it's something that I think would serve in a number of ways for economic development as well. And that's wayfinding. And that's signage to our city facilities, our parks, our business districts, and also how to get out of Citrus Heights. I mean,
No, we
which
don't
way
want
to
them
get
to
them.
leave.
Well, but we
Yeah.
could, we want to show them where the
Some.
freeway is. They can come back. We want to show them the quickest way in and out. But just a thought of wayfinding, and it's not a huge priority. I wouldn't push this up on the list too high, but because it's a nicety, but I think it's something that would enhance our city with wayfinding. And I think that's it. Now, I did have some thoughts on shopping carts. We have an initial program, and I think we should have some kind of lottery or something for calling in shopping carts. Because they just sit there, and I know I can call in or get online, and it's gone the next day, but I don't, I think folks wait for something to happen, and we need to put the, tools in their hands to get these things accomplished as well. So that's just a thought on shopping carts. Do an informational campaign and reward folks for that. Just a thought.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
Yes. So Amy, could you scroll back to the slide that has the SEPTED acronym on there? Because I'm a little concerned that there's lots of folks here that might not know what that means. And what it means is crime prevention through environmental design. And this is a pretty well-known, I was unfamiliar with the term as well, but this is just part of this very comprehensive plan that we're talking about here. So thank you, Amy. That's all I wanted to mention on that. But what's really impressive, and I've been trying to share this through pieces of this through social media, because I kind of understand that nobody wants to read a big, long document. But what I would say is anybody that's interested in running for Citrus Heights City Council this fall, you should know this document inside and out and backwards, because it's powerful. It really is important to our own community growth, for our own community pride. I'm just blown away by the level of preparation that our city manager put into this, the staff participation. There's a serious momentum going on. It's like a freight train. If you get in front of it, you're going to get run over. So I would certainly, I support this wholeheartedly. I love Council members Miller's suggestion that the pathways in and out of the city. I think that's a wonderful opportunity for us to, number one, promote where that person is and how to get around town. So that's all I had to say. But again, great job, Ash. Excellent.
There is absolutely nothing more to add to that. Well done. And with that, I'll take a motion.
I move that we adopt this resolution.
Okay, I have a
Mayor,
motion.
maybe we can ask for public comment if there is any before we take the
That's good.
motion.
Good point.
That is not on my list, but I'll allow it. Is there any public comment? Don't be shy. Come on. This is exciting. I tried, city attorney, I tried. Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Perfect. Next item, please.
Next item is regular calendar item number 10. The subject is American Rescue Plan Act Fund Allocation Discussion. The recommendation is to receive a staff report and presentation and provide feedback on the next increment of proposed funding allocations of the American Rescue Plan Act revenue.
Well, we're waiting to get that one teed up. I want to say thank you to council for all those kind comments, and I've got to have the privilege of presenting that item, but team in here, just a lot of work went into that, and a lot of excitement with it too. So thanks to everyone who was involved. All right, American Rescue Plan Act Fund Allocation Discussion. If we can go to the next slide, please. As part of the strategic plan and the work plan that we set up, is we talked about getting to council here at this meeting with some discussions on ARPA and some potential funding allocation programs. Just by way of background, just to talk a little bit about the funding that we've received historically, the city was allocated, just like cities and counties across the nation, we were allocated ARPA funds, and we were just at 15, just almost $15.7 million were allocated to the city. Back in January 2021, to restore police staffing positions, the council allocated about $5.3 million of the ARPA funds to restore police staffing. And then in addition to that, there was an allocation for the small business COVID grant recovery program. That allocation was about $320,000, but the subscription rate on that is about $281,000. So that leaves remaining funds to appropriate of just over $10 million. But in addition to that $10 million, police challenges to fill those staffing positions takes time to bring an officer on to do the training, and also all the other additional support staff that's so critical to our police department and public safety operations. So with that additional time it's taken to restore those positions, there's $1 million that was allocated out of that 5.3 that is unexpended yet. So there's really just over $11 million that are remaining on the ARPA funds. The ARPA funds, those are to be allocated by December 31st, 2024. So we have some time to work on the strategic plan and those focus area work plan that was just adopted to allocate those funds, and then they need to be expended by December 31st, 2026. You can go to the next slide, please. We talked about the 4 focus areas, and thank you for adopting the focus area work plan. We also have the strategic objectives that we're currently working in for the 6-month period that runs through November 1st. As a follow-up to both of those items, we had 4 items that we're wanting to talk to you tonight about. We're not looking for action tonight on these 4 items. We're looking to have them for discussion and feedback, and we would actually then come back. We're targeting the June 26th meeting to come back with actual detailed descriptions on these, as well as funding resolutions for you to act on at that meeting. But we wanted to give an overview and a preview of these items first. First one, the beautification crew that I spoke to in an earlier presentation. The beautification crew, this was one of the items that was identified as part of the 6-month strategic objectives. And we spoke to at the, I'm not going to try to read this right now because I'm having a little struggle with my eyes, but oh, thank you. Appreciate that. One of the goals that we had adopted as part of that 6-month, or the council adopted as part of the 6-month objectives, was to bring a proposal forward. And so we will be doing that at the June 26th or June 23rd city council meeting, excuse me. But we have a preview on it. Our GSD team, as well as police department, has spent quite a bit of time vetting this out and have come up with a budget that's pretty detailed on what it would take to execute this. It's a 2-person crew, a truck with a lift gate to pick things up like shopping carts, like major debris piles, as well as outfitted with a pressure washer and other tools to help beautify the community. There's an example on the left-hand side of the bullets of some of the type of activities that the beautification crew would address. We've got an estimated funding commitment of $875,000 for this. And this again would run through the end of the ARPA period. So that would be about a 3.5-year program. Hopefully at the end of that period of time, we've made a lot of headway on this, and maybe we can revisit, is it still needed, or is a lesser amount needed, or is it making such a difference that we want to kind of talk about some budget priorities at that time? But our proposal would be to do limited term positions during this period of time, fund this crew and the associated equipment that goes along with it to really get ahead on beautifying the community. A block party trailer. I spoke to this earlier, but very excited about this. Like I say, bringing the activities where the people are. This would be a trailer that's fully outfitted with everything you need to get people together: tables, chairs, audio system, coolers, some lawn games, things to have fun, but also to hold a meeting and talk about community issues. So the trailer would be available to community groups to utilize for those, like I say, social capital building purposes. Again, this too was part of the 6-month objectives that were adopted. We have looking to bring this forward for the funding resolution at the June meeting, but then we'd be coming back with a programming discussion for direction from council. But we want to make sure that we get started on the acquisition of the trailer as well as the additional supplies, putting a terrific wrap on there that builds a lot of excitement in the community. And then we would come back to council to talk specifically about how it's used, who uses it, so on and so forth. For police vehicles, this again was part of the 6-month objectives to have a plan to replace and upgrade some of the deferred portion of the police fleet. Since I want to say it was 2018, there have not been reserves that have been put away for police vehicle replacement. And we have, police vehicles put a lot of miles on. They put a lot of wear and tear on. And so the department has done an evaluation of the fleet and has identified replacement vehicles that need to be replaced. And so we have a proposal here to replace those vehicles that are in need of replacement. And like you say, at the next meeting that we come back with an actual funding resolution here, we'd bring that forward with more detail on what's exactly being replaced. These aren't all patrol vehicles. Some of these vehicles are community service vehicles and other vehicles that are used to serve the community. Our communication center, dispatch, that's really the first stop for public safety is when somebody calls in. A dispatch center is very busy. Similar to the vehicles, there needs to be more reserve, I'd say, put away in the future to, fund these type of activities. But we've got a chance right now with some of the ARPA funding to make some one-time investments to really kind of bring up our dispatch center and modernize that to address some of the needs that we have currently today. So we have a proposal to allocate $600,000 to the dispatch center and really modernize that to help support the community and also support our field personnel and our officers that are responding to calls. Again, we'll bring more detail on this to the June 23rd meeting. And with that, that really concludes those 4 items that we're looking to bring back at the June 23rd meeting with the funding resolutions. But we have a lot more information in the staff report that had been provided, and I know you're familiar with that. So we're happy to answer any questions you have. Our staff team that helped put those proposals together is here to address or answer any questions that you may have. But looking to get your feedback and any general discussion on those items.
Comments, feedback? Brett.
Thank you. Again, thank you again. We're moving in the right direction. Priorities are very well established. And, we just want the people of Citrus Heights to know that, we're making a turn and we're really kind of addressing things that are extremely important to our community. We've had some discussions one-on-one with the city manager too, and where possible, it's important that we try to keep these funds within Citrus Heights, connected to Citrus Heights, or however we can do that as we spend them towards these objectives. And so please know that that's occurring, that the city manager is committed to doing that. And hopefully we can keep as many of those dollars directly in here in Citrus Heights, if not at least indirectly somehow connected to where the people and the businesses of Citrus Heights benefit. One thing I wanted to ask on objective number 1, and it's just kind of a nexus or a connection to it. I would like us to consider maybe establishing a policy within Citrus Heights of the immediate removal of any encampment or person found sleeping within 50 feet of a roadway, just for public safety purposes. I think that we would be legally, hopefully, within our ability to keep people safe and still abide by the Boise decision And when I drive down the road and I look over and I see somebody, in a tent 20 feet from the road, all I can think of is a car veering off and the disaster that will occur and unnecessarily. And I think we have a responsibility as a government to keep people safe, even if in that kind of a situation. So I would like us to see if we could consider something like that in the future as we go forward with our effort to make things better in Citrus Heights. And I think that's about it. Thank you.
I just want to thank you. Oops. Thank you for your presentation. And I don't know whose idea it was to have the neighborhood block party trailer, but I think that's great,
Sounds like a
Megan.
Megan idea.
Yes, I should have
You know
guessed.
that's
I
a
should
Megan
have guessed,
idea.
yeah. I'm excited to see how that gets used. I mean, that can probably get rolled out pretty quickly. And we get the word out to the public and see what the demand is for that. I think it's great. So thank you very much.
Present.
It's your turn.
And unfortunately, the block party trailer is going to be non-alcoholic, so there's no blender that comes with it. I think that's a correct statement. Anyway, I digress. Now I know all of our priority is paving our roads, and we just don't have the funding to aggressively attack it. We're doing what we can with the revenue we get coming in. But another priority I see, and it's big to me on infrastructure, is the maintenance and enhancement strategy to identify centerline miles of roadways in need of restriping and other minor roadway repairs. I mean, that's huge for an aging population. Our lines are literally disappearing in front of us. And also for not self-driving cars, but cars that have the lane correction ability. If they can't see the lanes, they can't drive within them. So that was something that was kind of came up as a next priority, not for June 23rd, but to keep looking at that. And I think that's it. Otherwise, I like what we're going after with the taking care of some of the things we couldn't take care of earlier. And so good use of the ARPA funds.
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. So over the years, there've been several stories in the Citrus Heights Sentinel about people have taken upon themselves to beautify Auburn Boulevard or go out. I have a neighbor who goes out with one of those little picker-upper things and he picks up trash around the neighborhood. I've actually saw a gentleman in Brett's neighborhood doing the same thing. This is fantastic. When the city is leading with this, I just really would encourage people to step in and volunteer and help, and let's build this city. Let's rebuild it. Let's bring it back to a serious vibrancy. I'm super excited about this. Great presentation, Ash. If you have some time, why don't you just give it to your community? It's a wonderful gesture. Thank you.
Ditto. Any other
That's
comments?
the best thing about going last.
I know, right? Okay, next item.
Next item is department reports, and there are none. Next item is city manager items.
What you got, Ash?
Promise I won't. I'll be brief here. All right, well, if we can go to the next slide, we got a couple of updates here. This was spoken to earlier, but just wanted to share some photos. If you're watching from home and you weren't able to make it out, come out and have some fun. We had the Public Works Showcase that was spoken to earlier, some of the council comments, a few pictures here. It was great to see a flood of kids come out. I think probably around 3 o'clock, if I recall that time right, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I was really kudos to the team that put that on, Regina at the helm and many others, but it was a great event. In addition to that, the next day, we had a event on one of our bike trails. And that was a lot of fun too. And I heard from SACOG, it was a co-sponsored event. You can see some of the photos there that we had the best turnout in the whole region. And so we had many neighbors from the area come out and enjoy the event. Just felt like a lot of community pride out there. And so just wanted to touch on that and thank everyone that came out in spite of the gale force winds, which was a little tough to ride a bike in, but people still managed. So, all right, if we can go to the next slide, please. Very important, and this was spoken to earlier in the council comments, but Memorial Day activities. City Hall will be closed in observance of Memorial Day. But more importantly, the Memorial Day's activities are happening in the community to honor those that served in their sacrifice. So as was spoken to earlier, American Legion will be putting on their Memorial Day service at the Sylvan Cemetery. Veterans, if you'd like to participate, at 10:30, there's a gathering of veterans that will do a procession through the cemetery, and the ceremony starts at 11 o'clock. In addition to that, the Capitol Pops concert band will be holding a free public concert at the Veterans Community Center. That starts at 1 p.m. So a couple of opportunities for the community to show their support and memorialize those that we've lost. So wanted to make sure that we touched on that. That's all.
Item.
Next item is items requested by council members or future agenda items.
Right, Brett, you're up.
Thank you, Pam, very much. I'll be as succinct as possible with this, but I think it does need a little foundation. The city manager, during a report earlier, pointed out that I believe it was the number one thing, but 84.5% of people in that survey that was conducted cited physical safety and security as their number one concern. Again, we saw what happened in Texas, and I just want to see if we can make things even better here in Citrus Heights. So I'd like to see if I can get support for the city forming a committee that involves maybe the school district, somebody from PD, a parent or two, and maybe a council member or two, that examines the security and safety of schools in the Citrus Heights area and makes any recommendations for enhancements. Again, the school district is responsible for the physical security of the schools, but there's always a way to do things better, I think. And it's a good opportunity to come forward and see if we can find a way to do things better for our kids in Citrus Heights. It may be that we come back and say that, hey, things are great and we don't need to do anything, but it might also just open some eyes about what maybe we could do something better. And I'd like us to see if we can come back with that before school starts. So we actually have an opportunity because school is ending. Maybe do that over the summer and get it back by mid-August and see if there's something that we either want to do or just strongly recommend that the school district do.
Support that.
I think it's a great idea. I would suggest we use an existing committee or two by to sit down and talk specifically about this. You can't be too prepared. And there are kids and we need to protect them. So
Absolutely.
Did I catch you correctly, Steve, that this might be a function of the education 2x2?
well, yeah, as I thought
Yeah,
about it, we
that
can
makes
get
sense to me.
two board members, two council members together and staff just to talk about this specifically. I know they have their safe schools department and did spend a lot of bond money putting fencing up around the schools. We would have loved to put concertina wire when I was working there, but they didn't want them looking like a prison. So we got the smooth knuckles on the chain link.
I'd like to see it as a future agenda item.
We'll make it so. Thank you. And I'll also reach out to my counterpart at the school district and get the discussion started.
Great, thank you. Seeing as we have nothing further, I will adjourn this meeting.